Chapter 1: Why so many Japanese survive on rice alone. Now, this story is not about tradition. It is not about Japanese people loving rice. And it is definitely not about some nostalgic return to a simple lifestyle. It is about survival. In today's Japan, rice has quietly shifted roles. It is no longer the base of a balanced meal. For a growing number of people, it is the meal. A bowl of plain white rice. No meat, no vegetables, no soup, sometimes not even seasoning. This is not famine. Supermarkets are full. Convenience stores glow all night. Restaurants advertise endlessly. Yet behind this abundance, millions are reducing their diets to the cheapest possible calories. Rice survives because it is predictable. It is filling. It can be bought in bulk. It does not spoil quickly. And most importantly, it does not force people to make choices they can't afford. Wages in Japan have barely moved for decades, while food prices quietly climbed. Protein became a luxury first. Fresh vegetables followed. Cooking oil, eggs, even tofu are now items people calculate carefully. So people simplify. Breakfast becomes rice. Lunch becomes rice. Dinner becomes rice again, sometimes with soy sauce, sometimes with nothing. This shift rarely appears in official statistics. There is no category called nutritional surrender, but you can see it in grocery baskets, in skipped aisles, in the quiet popularity of discount rice cookers and second-hand appliances. People do not complain loudly about this. They adjust. They normalize it. They tell themselves it is temporary. But when temporary lasts for years, it becomes a way of life. In the next chapter, we will look at who is most affected by this change and why this is not limited to the unemployed or the homeless, but increasingly includes ordinary workers who still show up every day. Chapter 2: When even rice became too expensive. For years, rice was the last thing people believed would stay affordable. Rent could rise, electricity could rise, meat was already gone. But rice was untouchable, or so everyone told themselves. Then it tripled. Not overnight, not with sirens, quietly, incrementally. The kind of increase that slips past headlines but punches households every single day. In Japan, rice is not just food, it is the final safety net. When everything else disappears from the table, rice is what remains. And that is exactly why this price surge matters. For households already surviving on plain bowls of rice, there was nowhere left to downgrade. You cannot replace rice with something cheaper because there is nothing cheaper that still fills your stomach. People adapted the only way they could. They bought lower grade rice. They mixed old stock with new. They reduced portions. They ate fewer meals. Some households began cooking rice once a day instead of twice. Others stretched a single pot across an entire day, reheating it again and again. Convenience stores noticed a rise in customers buying nothing but onigiri. Supermarkets noticed shoppers standing longer in front of rice shelves, calculating silently. This was not panic buying, it was arithmetic. When rice prices surged, it exposed something uncomfortable. The system had been leaning on rice as a buffer against poverty. And once that buffer cracked, the illusion collapsed. Public discussion stayed muted. There were explanations, weather, logistics, global markets, all technically true, but none of them helped the person staring at a receipt that no longer matched their paycheck. Rice was never supposed to become a luxury item. The moment it did, it stopped being food policy and became a warning. In the next chapter, we will look at why this shock hit so hard, and how decades of stagnant wages turned a simple price increase into a national stress fracture. Chapter 3: Why a rice price shock breaks a society. A rice price increase should not feel like an existential threat. In a healthy economy, it would be annoying. People would complain for a week, then move on. Japan is not that economy anymore. The reason this hit so hard is simple and ugly. There is no margin left. For decades, wages stayed frozen while living costs crept up with the patience of a predator. Rent rose quietly. Utilities rose politely. Food prices rose in small, ignorable steps. People coped by cutting extras. First eating out disappeared. Then meat became occasional. Then fruit became seasonal. Then vegetables became selective. Rice absorbed the damage. It was the shock absorber of daily life in Japan. So when rice prices jumped, it wasn't just inflation. It was the removal of the last illusion that things were still manageable. This is why the reaction didn't look dramatic. No riots, no mass protests, just quiet behavioral changes. People stopped inviting friends over. Parents reduced their own portions so children could eat normally. Office workers skipped breakfast and pretended it was intermittent fasting. Elderly people switched from 3 meals to 2 without telling anyone. This is not resilience, this is compression. An economy can tolerate price shocks only if income can expand to meet them. Japan's cannot. Regular workers, contract workers, part-timers, even full-time employees in name only, are all locked into the same problem: income ceilings with rising floors. So rice didn't just become expensive, it became symbolic. It told people that even the most basic assumptions about daily life were no longer safe. That stability was something they remembered, not something they lived in. In the next chapter, we will look at who benefits from this silence and why this situation continues without triggering real political urgency. Chapter 4: Bent backs, empty plates, and the cost of endurance. Walk through any commuter station in the morning and look carefully, not at the advertisements, at the people. In Japan, it is striking how many elderly men and women walk with visibly bent backs. This is often explained away as just aging. That explanation is convenient and incomplete. What bends a body is not age alone. It is long-term nutritional deficiency combined with sustained physical and psychological stress. When a diet collapses into rice alone, the first things to disappear are protein, calcium, iron, and essential vitamins. Muscle mass erodes quietly. Bone density weakens year by year. Recovery from fatigue slows until it barely exists. Now layer stress on top of that. Decades of early mornings, crushing commuter trains, long hours of standing or sitting without rest. Workplaces where pressure never turns off and gratitude rarely appears. The body adapts the same way the diet does. It compresses, shoulders round forward, spines curve, necks tilt down, not just from smartphones, but from years of carrying invisible weight. This is not rare, it is widespread. And it is not limited to manual laborers, office workers, clerks, service staff, caregivers. The posture looks different, but the damage accumulates the same way. What makes this especially cruel is the silence around it. People do not say, "I am malnourished." They say, "I'm just tired." They do not say, "My body is breaking down." They say, "This is normal at my age." A society that survives on rice alone trains its people to endure quietly. It rewards perseverance, it discourages complaint, and it mistakes collapse for dignity. So when you see bent backs, you are not just seeing age, you are seeing decades of postponed rest, postponed nutrition, postponed care. This is how a rich-looking country grows physically smaller without realizing it. Not through disaster, through daily compromise. This video ends here, not because the problem is finished, but because this is where the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. When survival replaces living, the body keeps the receipts.